Thank you very much, Camille Borg, for being a part of this podcast. I am very honored that you have decided to take the time, very valuable time, to join me in this conversation that we're having today around massage therapy and around inappropriateness of massage therapists and how massage therapists can be sexually inappropriate and what we want to do about those things. And we're going to tell our stories today. And I'm just so grateful that you're here with me to share our stories together of what happened to us, because we're both very passionate about helping others and helping other people that go through this and what we can do to better the conversation around that subject. So thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Camille, can you share a little bit about who you are and what you do? And let's talk about your law firm for a second.
Sure. My name is Camille Borg. I am a family law attorney in McKinney, Texas. I own my own law firm called Camille Borg Law. And I have one other attorney that works with me and a staff of 5. We are in the process of continuing to grow the firm. But as of now, we have a very solid core group of folks who are all dedicated to helping abuse victims get out of abusive relationships, whatever that might look like. Usually people who aren't getting abused in some way don't, try to get divorced. So pretty much anyone who comes through our doors is needing some kind of healing. So our motto is hope, heal, thrive. People come here feeling hopeless. They don't understand how the law can help them. We help restore hope by teaching them what the law has to be able to help free them from their circumstances. Then we give them a safe place to heal while their case goes on. And as the case concludes, we send them on to thrive. And that is the mission of our firm and what we explain to all our clients so that they understand that we're not here just to get you through the legal process, but we're trying to help minimize the ultimate damage that comes from the legal process, which can be victimizing in and of itself. So that is what we do.
Awesome. I'm so thankful for you. I've never been your client, but I have to say that, Camille, you exude that mission statement from your very pores. And it shows in your friendships and your relationships that I've seen throughout the years I've known you. And I'm just very grateful to have you in my circle of friends. And, your mission statement really does say what you do and how you feel. And you're so passionate about it. So thank you so much for helping those of us who have been, victimized. And, I hate the word victim. I think we all hate that word, right? But what other word do we use? I mean, how do we talk about this? What do you think?
Some people use the word survivor, but it's more than just surviving. That's why I use the word thriving, not hope he'll survive, hope he'll thrive, so that people can have that in mind, that it's more than just getting through it. It's about learning from it and making the best of life going forward.
That's awesome. I'm just so thankful there are people like you in the world, because, people that have been in situations where they didn't expect themselves to be not thriving. It is nice to find a glimmer of hope and a way to turn around their circumstances into something where they can thrive. So you rock, girl.
Thank you.
So if it's okay with you, I'm going to go ahead and share my part of the story. Actually, I would like you to share your part of the story first, because it happened before mine. Camille is a client of mine. I think that's safe to share. She has been coming to see me for a few years now, and she shared with me her story, and she was gracious enough to allow us to share that publicly with you today. So please be open with your ears when you hear this podcast. Open your heart up and think about compassion and if you were the person on the table, what you would do. So Camille, go ahead and share your story with us if you would.
You're referring to the story of when I had a massage therapist be inappropriate with me?
Yes.
I had met a massage therapist in Plano, Texas, who I knew him through networking. And I would promote my law firm and he would promote his massage therapy business. And I had hired him to come do massage. He didn't have a brick and mortar, so he came to people's residences and he came to my apartment. And, I paid him his hourly rate or whatever for probably 10 to 12 different sessions. And, maybe like a month between, not on any regular routine like I do with you. But I had used the services several times. And one day he was over giving me a massage and he used his pointer and middle finger to trace my labia lips with his fingers. And it was highly inappropriate. Obviously, there was no consent. It was supposed to be a professional setting. It was paying for a massage and he violated me. It was very upsetting. There's the fight or flight, but there's also the freeze. They froze and I just got really quiet and I could tell that he was trying to test the boundaries to see if he could get away with more. And I just laid there waiting for it to be over. And, he ultimately left and I never talked to him again. I stopped going to any of the networking groups that I would see him at. And he would text me every few weeks, like, "You ready for your next massage?" And I would just not reply, which isn't like me. I'm a very prompt replier. Ultimately, I had to block him. But for me, it was terrible because we ran in the same circle, so to speak. All the people that I networked with, he networked with. And one of the groups that I went to every Thursday morning, one of the leaders noticed that I wasn't there and invited me back. And I said, well, actually, let me back up. When it happened, I went to the leadership of that Thursday morning group and I said, "I've been violated by this person. I'm not comfortable coming to this group if he's still here. He needs to not be here." And the man in leadership said to me, "Well, how often were you having massages? Did you have a familiarity with him?" And I was like, "Well, that's irrelevant because it's a professional relationship." And then he just said, "Well, maybe he was just really comfortable with you," as if that was some kind of excuse. And he made rationalized what had happened to me. And he refused to do anything about the situation, at least that I knew of based on our conversation. It didn't sound like he was going to do anything. And as far as I know, this was probably 6-7 years ago. And as far as I know, that person's still not working in that group. And after I hired the attorney that it works for me now, that same person came to me and said, "Hey, now that you have this attorney, do you think she'll come to this group?" And I said, "Is this massage therapist still going there?" And he goes, "Oh, right. Bring it," I asked. I'm like, "No, fuck no. I would never send somebody somewhere where I know there's a predator and there is leadership who's not going to do anything about it and still promote this person's business." I was irate. And it's tough because I still see that person in professional settings, the leadership person, not the massage therapist. And it's hard to set that aside that he didn't want to take any action to protect me or anyone else who might be future victimized or currently being victimized for all I know. So I think it'd be easy for someone to say, "Well, Camille, why didn't you report it? Why didn't you get him, taken down from the licensure or reporting to the police?" And you have to remember that I was a new lawyer at the time. I was trying to build my brand and build my business. And there is that stigma of not wanting to be the problem. Like the squeaky wheel doesn't always get the grease, it gets put out to pasture sometimes. And there are a lot of things that could have been done to retaliate against me if I had spoken up. And whether or not that would have happened, I don't know, but that was my legitimate fear at the time. And I sat on it and I just avoided it. And eventually, after I met you and started visiting with you, I did ask, "What's the statute of limitations on making a report of inappropriate behavior?" And, we researched and I believe the answer was 2 years. And at that point, it had been 4 or 5. So I had missed my opportunity to report it, but it's never too late to shout from the mountaintops to anyone else who will listen. I might not be able to get his license revoked or get him disciplined in that way, but it is important to caution other people and give them the voice that I wasn't able to muster at the time.
On behalf of the massage community, I want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm already crying. I think it's very unprofessional, of course, but I think any client going to a licensed professional massage therapist should feel safe and secure that they're not going to be inappropriately touched. So I want to say I'm really sorry. I can't say this without choking up. I'm really sorry on behalf of the massage therapist community of professionals that happened to you, because I know that you're one of several. And when I say several, I mean thousands and thousands and thousands, probably millions of people that this has happened to. If I could take that away from your past, I would, but I'm grateful because it happened to you. And because you shared your story with me, I was able to call you about my story. And I am so thankful that you were there to help me go through what I went through. And we're going to talk about that next. But I'm flabbergasted that this happens so often and we're not talking about it. And it makes me mad. It makes me furious. It makes me furious as a massage therapist. It makes me furious as a client. I mean, no other profession has to justify that they're not sex workers. I'm not a sex worker. When you come in to see me, I work on you in a professional, therapeutic capacity as part of your healthcare team. And to know that in the past, a professional massage therapist did that to you is not okay. And it's not okay for anybody to do this, whether you're licensed or not. Do not go touching people inappropriately like this. Why do we have to say this out loud? And why are we screaming it from the mountaintops?
We are.
We are now. We're going to scream it from the mountaintops now. Thank you for sharing your story, Camille. I know it's challenging to open your heart to the world and be vulnerable and tell your story, especially with a successful law firm like you have. And, I asked Camille before she told her story today, are you okay with this story being heard from your clients, potential clients, your friends, your family? And she was like, I'm here to help you with this message. And I want to help that. I want to help us talk about how massage therapy is not a sex work business. It's not. This is not a sex profession. So thank you for being a part of this conversation. Very difficult conversation. Is there anything else that you want to share about that story?
I would just encourage anyone who's had that happen to speak out sooner and to go, hopefully through this podcast, anyone who's listening who's had something similar happen, you will have the tools to know how to report it and to get some consequences for the offending party. And I think that your story is going to illustrate that because we walked that path together.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good segue. If we're ready to move on, are you ready to? Okay.
I am.
I wanted to give you plenty of time and space to tell your part of your story. So I went to a foot massage place in Plano, and I was with a group of girlfriends, and we all got foot massages, and I think it included some back work too. And as he was working on me, the massage therapist did not speak English. He was wearing these like mesh shorts, and he would reach over my body with his hands and, reach over my body and lean up against me and basically pelvic thrusted his penis on my arm as he did it. So he was doing a vibrational technique, kind of like a Traeger technique. And every time he did a movement, his penis would hit my arm. And I froze as well. I'm a massage therapist. I'm a massage therapy instructor. This was last year. This was not 10 years ago. This was like 10 or 14 months ago, basically. I have been a little hard on myself because I always constantly am asking myself, why didn't I say anything? I know why I didn't say anything. He doesn't speak English. And I felt that there was not going to be it was just going to cause havoc in the place. if I said something. And I was afraid. But I think Camille's right. There's fight, flight, or freeze. And when you freeze, you just don't know what to do. You just get stuck in that position. And I remember thinking, I can't even move, right? I felt frozen, literally frozen. And I remember at one point, I moved my arm to kind of give him a message like, I don't like that. And he actually moved my arm back, which is really oogie and creepy.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, it was pretty gross, but I didn't say anything. And I walked out, I paid for the massage, and we all met up at the front of the building to gather ourselves. And my best friend, I have a problem with my face. I cannot hide anything. This face tells it all. So when I got out and I was really uncomfortable, my best friend immediately goes, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Nope, nothing. Everything's fine." And she goes, "Nope, that's not true. You need to tell me what happened in there." And so I told her what happened, and she said, "What do you want to do?" And at that point, I had a decision to make. Do I want to go in and make a ruckus out of this and say something to them, or do I want to just leave? I took the easy path and I left because that's what I felt like I needed to do for myself at the time.
And also, you don't know if physical altercation is going to happen. And you took the safe path.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true.
We don't know if they have guns. We're in Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessarily safe to
say anything.
Right. At least that's how we have to think.
That's very true. I mean, if anybody's listening and this has happened to you and you're, feeling like you made a mistake by not saying something, I just want to say this. Camille and I are probably the two badass bitches that you ever met in your life. She's an attorney and I'm a massage therapist, and we can get shit done. I'm telling you, we're both business owners. I mean, I respect the hell out of Camille, and she can throw down when she needs to. She is a bulldog in the courtroom, and I know she fights fiercely and passionately with her heart and her mind. And I'm very thankful for that in our community. But I want to be that person for the massage therapist right now and for the massage therapist clientele. So what I want to say in the middle of this story right now is that if you find yourself in this situation, or if you've been in this situation, it's okay to freeze. It's okay to freeze. It's okay to freeze. Get yourself out of the situation, go home, take a deep breath and think about it. What I did is I called Camille because I knew she had gone through a similar situation and I didn't know what to do. I thought I knew what to do. I was going to report her to TDLR, which is the Texas Department, or him, to the Texas Department of Licensing Regulation. I had done that the same day. When I called Camille, she immediately said, "Julie, this is against the law. You need to call the police." And that just blew my mind. I didn't even cross my mind to do that. Maybe it was the situation I was in. Maybe it was my mindset around it. Maybe it was the fact that I'm a massage therapist. I don't know, but it didn't even cross my mind to do it. So I went into the police department with my husband. We filed a report against them. The Plano Police Department worked with the TDLR investigator to, prosecute the spa. What we found out was that the guy fled back to China, where his home is, and the business was fined. I don't know how much, but I know it was heavily fined, is what they said to me. And then the case was dropped. So
the court case or the TDLR?
The lawyer that I had hired to help me with this case said there's no movement. There's nothing happening to it. There's nowhere we can go with this case anymore. Nothing's really happening. So they just kind of dropped it. And, there wasn't any more movement from TDLR on that either. So, it's frustrating to know that there wasn't much that happened. But I think what I want to do with this podcast episode, and maybe a couple more moving forward, is sharing how to stand up against people that do this. And yes, you might not get like $1 million lawsuit, but if you at least report it to TDLR and to the police, that's a step in the right direction. Do you have anything to add?
Just that whatever state our listeners might be in might have a different governing body, but if they're practicing massage therapists, I'm sure they know who governs them.
Yes, they should. That's where what your license is under that state. Now in Texas, I had clients that have come in other than Camille and shared their story with me. And I've actually walked through how to file a complaint with TDLR. And in a future episode, I want to go through that with you. So you know as well, if a client comes into your office and shares with you a vulnerable situation in which they were molested on a massage table, what you can do as a professional massage therapist to help them file the complaint and talk to the police. Because if we don't stop these people from doing these inappropriate things and making noise about this, they're going to continue using our profession for sex, for their getting their rocks off. And I'm not okay with it. And I hope you're not either. You shouldn't be okay with it unless you're doing.
No, I'm not. I don't think that our listeners are either.
Yeah. If you're listening to this and you're okay with this, you should probably shut off the podcast, because I'm going to be saying things that you're not going to like.
No, they should listen so we can change their mind.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, this conversation is about two people in the room, the massage therapist and the client. As a massage therapist, and if you're not a therapist and you're listening to this podcast, thank you for listening, because you're part of this conversation too. Clients are asking massage therapists to do inappropriate things, which is sometimes how it starts. Sometimes. So if your client comes in asking you for inappropriate ways of massaging, you need to shut that down right away. We are taught in massage school what to do. Use that knowledge. Stick up for yourself. You're not a sex worker. You're a professional massage therapist. You're part of the healthcare plan. Do not do inappropriate things. Your client should not get their rocks off during a massage. This is not a sexual act. The second part of that is the therapist. If the therapist is inappropriate with you, as a client, you have 100% control over the situation. Stop the massage immediately if you can. If you don't know how to stop it and you freeze or you can't do anything, report them to the police, report them to your governing body, and get therapy.
Julie, go ahead and finish.
I've gone through a lot of therapy from this. So it's, you need help. You need other people to help support you.
Why don't you tell the story about how you had somebody ask you to do something inappropriate and you just turned the lights on and said the massage was over and he needed to collect his things and leave?
Yep. So that's what I was taught in massage school, that if somebody says something that's inappropriate, or ask you to do something that's inappropriate, they will pay you for your time, even though you finish early. Turn on the lights. I'm sorry, that's inappropriate. I'm not doing that. It's time for you to go. And that's a boundary that you should set as a therapist right away.
And so my point of bringing that up is that, you had mentioned it's okay to freeze, and it is. But if you already have in your mind what you're going to do if something like that happens, then you kick in a training mode versus freeze mode, kind of like how the military is trained. And, like if you have already decided how to handle a situation, it's easier to not get stuck in freeze. Like for me, I never imagined that massage therapist would violate me. I was stunned into freezing mode because I didn't know what else, I didn't have a plan. But if I had known, like, if this happens, immediately banish the person, or, I was in my own home. I was naked. I was vulnerable, but as a massage therapist on the other side of things, you can just do what you said. And if that's already decided, then maybe it'll be easier to not freeze.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if I had to do the whole thing over again and put myself in that situation and he were to do that to me, I think that I would probably stop him and say, "What are you doing?" I would sit up and ask him, "What are you doing? That's inappropriate. I don't want you to touch me with your penis." And maybe say it loud enough for everybody to hear. I think that's probably what I would try to do if I had that happen again. I was in shock too. I mean, you don't think it's going to happen to you, So what is your plan of action if that does happen? What would you have done?
Me?
Yeah.
If I had what happened to you happen to me?
If you had it done again, the same thing again, if you have a plan in place, what would you do now?
So if you recall, I had a situation recently with a chiropractor where he was working on my leg muscle and he placed my foot in his crotch area. I couldn't see behind me and I didn't turn around and look, but it felt like my foot was placed too close to his penis, if not next to his penis. This was recent within the last year too, after your incident. And I still froze and I complained to a female worker who was supposed to talk to the lead chiropractor, but I never got any resolution about it. And all I've done is just avoid that offending chiropractor every time I go. But I'm probably going to just switch chiropractors. I hear myself saying this out loud and I'm almost embarrassed because, I am a badass attorney, but I don't know.
This is why we have to scream, people. This is why we have to scream. I mean, it's such a tough...
I tried to speak out about it. And again, it fell on deaf ears. So, it's a problem from the top down.
It totally is a problem from the top down. Gosh, it's so frustrating because even with me filing the complaint and going to the police, what happened to him? He just went back to China. And that's really frustrating. I wanted him to lose his license, lose, all professional ability to touch anybody ever, to be frank. Having a plan is a good idea, but like I said, especially when you're a therapist, you don't think it's going to happen to you. And when it does, it's just so, I find myself embarrassed by telling my story too. And I just hate that we have all this shame around this. We should not feel ashamed. We did nothing wrong.
I think it's frustrating because we did take action, at least in your story and my more recent story. But actually, in my first one too, I did tell him to the leadership of the group I was in. But I think people not taking us seriously or saying it's a he said, she said moment or whatever gets really discouraging. So are we supposed to just walk around with body cams?
Well, I don't know that that's the answer, but it's, we have to get legal consent or like release forms for almost everything we do all the time, right? If I take a picture in a networking group, I have to make sure that there's a photo release form for that. If you touch me inappropriately on the massage table, I don't I don't understand how massage therapists or clients for that matter, it's really important that we understand that massage it should not be sexualized. We sexualize so many things in the United States. We can't even have topless beaches in the US because it's so sexualized. It doesn't make sense. Nudity is not necessarily a sexual thing. And being naked on the massage table is definitely a vulnerable position for people. And as a massage therapist, we can't take advantage of that vulnerability. We're asking our clients to trust us. And every time a massage therapist puts their penis on somebody or touches their labia lips or goes too close to the crack or whatever the problem is, this sets us back professionally in our industry. And I'm tired of it. Stop touching people the wrong way. We've been trained how to do this. We've been trained how to drape. We've been trained on ethical and unethical situations, just like attorneys have been trained on ethical and unethical situations. We go through that. That's why we have to take ethics class every couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really fucked up that people use our industry for this, and I want them to stop.
So I have a little funny anecdote for you that I haven't told you yet. So I was at a training 5-6 weeks ago for the lawyers of Collin County, and there was discussion of a massage parlor that had just been raided for sex work, and they were getting shut down. And it so happened that one of my colleagues, an attorney, was butt-ass naked on one of the tables when this raid happened. So there was a panel of judges I practice in front of, who both judge family law and criminal cases. And it was a attorneys can ask questions kind of panel. And so when somebody asked who was the attorney that was on the table, and one of the judges piped up and said, "You don't want to know. Trust me, you don't want to know." And it was just kind of funny because I was like, oh, I kind of do want to know, but I guess I don't want to know. I don't know if that attorney would have picked up some criminal charges for being present, depending on what acts were walked in upon.
Yeah. I just don't understand. I mean, I know that prostitution, sex workers, that's illegal in the United States. And that's not something that I really want to take action on either way, or an opinion on either way, whether it should be legal or not. It's illegal, so that's what it is. But in the massage industry, it's definitely illegal. If anybody touches you inappropriately and you're uncomfortable, I would like to give you permission to speak up if you find your voice. But I also want to give you permission to be kind to yourself if you can't, and that you're not alone. There's a lot of us out there, and that's okay. It's okay if you can't talk about it. But I would encourage you to at least file a complaint against that person or that business, so that at least the law can work to your advantage eventually. And you can file anonymously. So when clients come into my office and they have shared with me their stories, I've sat with them at my front desk computer and walked through the filings, scenario with them online and filled out the report. And I've asked them, do you want to be anonymous or not? And most of them have said yes. But at least TDLR knows that it's happening, because if this is one of a dozen, then that's a problem, right? I mean, or maybe this has happened before and nobody's filed against them. And I think that happens more than it doesn't. People don't talk about it, right? And I want to really encourage us as massage therapists. If somebody shares with you this, please, please, please do something to help us, support our own industry. File the complaints, because you're probably not the only one. And we could prevent this from happening in the future. And that was one of my favorite things about talking to Camille about after my incident happened. She was like, I'm helping you do the right thing, the thing that I couldn't do. I didn't have that support when I went through this. But now with you, I can help you walk through what you need to do with this. And I thought that was really a cool thing. And I want to pay it forward too, to all the people that are listening that may not be able to find their voice. It's okay, but we can work together to help make this not a problem. Anyway, do you have anything else to add to this conversation?
Yeah. So, there's the two avenues, the police law enforcement route, and then there's the governing body, the licensure governing body that can discipline a massage therapist for misconduct. But keep in mind that massage therapist license depends on them not having a criminal record within certain crimes. Like, you can't have a criminal record in certain crimes and still be able to have a license. So even if you're unsuccessful with getting the licensing board to take you seriously for whatever reason, maybe you fall through the cracks. Maybe if the police take you seriously and they end up with a criminal record, then the licensing body has to take notice, and vice versa. So,
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I just don't understand how we are not talking about this more. Why are we talking about this? Why are we now that this is a problem?
I think you are right now.
Yeah. I really want to, I'm angry. I'm angry about this. I'm angry that my therapist clients, my counselor clients come in and tell me that their patients come in and tell them all the time that they've been sexually molested on the table. Or somebody told me that their client is addicted to sex and they've been going to these massage parlors to get their rocks off. And now they're addicted to that. There was a guy that was in that situation and ended up shooting a bunch of Asian people, massage therapists in these parlors. And it's horrible. It's horrifying. He was so angry that he was addicted to this, sex stuff from the massage parlors that he got into debt so bad that he thought his only solution was to kill. I don't know. I don't want to be in that business. I don't want massage to be sexualized. Yeah. That's my main message. We're sexualizing it. And, you can massage your partner, your sexual partner, and do that in the privacy of your own home. And it can be an act of sexual pleasure. If two consenting adults and it happens in your bedroom at home, fantastic. But in a professional massage therapeutic setting, it's not appropriate,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm just so grateful to be able to have a voice to speak about this right now. It's very humbling. And I want us to really think about how we can move forward as professional therapists and speak loudly and proudly about our profession without having this demon in our closet. Because when I first started this business and I first started my massage career, I had that feeling too. Are we legitimate healthcare professionals? Am I getting into some woo-woo hippie stuff? Is this are people going to think I'm a sex worker? All these things went through my head when I started to do massage school. And if I thought about it, other people are thinking about it, especially, somebody who might be thinking about sex a lot. I think it's a common thought that massage can lead to sex, but we're in a professional setting, we're getting to the point in our therapy now where we're working on pelvic floor work, where midwives and massage therapists, chiropractors, PTs are now being specifically taught on how to work with the pelvic floor through the vaginal canal. We're getting places in this professional category that are really up against the line, and we have to start talking about this, or this is not going to look good for us. It's going to go the other way. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong by saying that. What do you think about that?
I think that the more awareness you can bring to it, the better. And maybe encourage people, listeners, to have those conversations, those difficult conversations, continue to get the word out.
Yeah. 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 I just hope that people that are listening, and if they've had these experiences, that by Camille and I sharing our stories, that helps give you strength and encouragement, and, know that whatever it is that you did, to be molested. It wasn't something you should have gone through. And, it's okay that you didn't speak up. But if you do have a plan, think about if it happens to you, what would you do? Right? You would go to the police. You're going to contact your state's board to let them know. If you freeze during the service and you can't speak up at the time, make sure to report them to your state's board, because we don't need these people licensed and practicing massage, doing the inappropriate acts that they're doing out there. Stop it. All right, Camille, you got anything else to add?
Just that if it has happened to you, it's not your fault.
Yes.
And we're all doing the best that we know how at the time. And there's no real right way to react. We're all doing the best we can. And hopefully somebody can be spared some grief from hearing our stories. And that would be my hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable with us today. I'm so thankful for your friendship and your compassionate nature, Camille.
Julie.
Yeah. And if you need family law services, please look into Camille's law firm, Borg Law. What's your website address?
CamilleBorgLaw.com.
CamilleBorgLaw.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Handcrafted Therapy podcast. I would love to hear from you. You can email us at podcast@handcraftedtherapy.com, or you can come by the store. It's at 3303 North Central Expressway, suite number 240 in Plano, Texas, 75023. Or you can connect with me on social, Instagram, Facebook, #HandcraftedTherapy. I'm Julie Alexander, and I wish you a very happy and healthy day.